Have you ever found yourself in a position where you have done the same thing over and over and over and over again so many times over the course of so many years that the last thing you want to do is do that same dang task even one more time because you are so tired of doing that thing that you can't stomach the thought of one more day doing that same thing? This is called burnout, ladies and gentlemen, and that is the subject of today's video. Hello, rock stars, Matt Vanderbo here, and if you've been following my channel for the past year or so, you will notice a recurring theme in pretty much all of my videos, and that is that the best way to get ahead financially in this industry is to pump out the music as quickly as you can so that you have a mountain of tracks out there in the world in various libraries working for you while you sleep. You're just not going to see the financial results if you only make 1 or 2 songs a year or maybe 20 cues a year. I mean, you may get lucky and hit a home run with one of those things, but one home run in this business is not enough to sustain a career. I mean, it'll be a nice little windfall of money, maybe, might not be much money at all, which is why you need a ton of music out in the marketplace, all accumulating as much money as possible so that you get a large chunk of change every quarter. Now, there are some people who do not agree with my outlook on the way to get ahead, and that is fine. Everyone has their own method to their own madness in this game, and my type of madness is one of quantity. And I've always said, in my estimation, quantity will increase your quality, because unless you are doing things so abysmally wrong, if you repeat the same thing over and over again and get incrementally better every time, then your quality will go up when you increase your quantity. That said, I am not telling you to do anything or change your own personal business model or outlook on this industry at all. If you are more of a slow prodding person who likes to put a lot of time into one piece of music to make one thing that is epic and might make a ton of money versus a bunch of smaller things that might make smaller paychecks, then by all means, you do you. I am simply telling you what has worked for me. But nonetheless, if you have committed yourself to making a very sizable amount of music, and you also believe that if you do that year after year after year, then you'll have this giant snowball of money rolling downhill towards you, then there is one glaring problem with this entire thing that is going to confront you sooner or later. And that is what I mentioned at the very beginning of this video: burnout. You will get tired of this job. I can almost guarantee it. And this is going to sound like such a weird, bizarre thing to say to people who are desperate to get a career in the music business. But you know, even if it's the music business and it has this kind of glamour, or it's like this fantasy of yours, doesn't mean that it's not a job. And you can only do the same job so long before you start to get tired of it. Does that mean that you hate your job? No, not necessarily, although I have been there with other jobs I've done in the past. But with music, I have definitely hit the point of burnout on a couple of big occasions. And this is the result of committing myself to making hundreds of tracks every year, to where I have to basically sit down and make 2 to 3 tracks every day in order to keep up with my goals. And it's fun for a while, and it's exciting when the money starts rolling in. But after a while, those things fail to sustain your motivation, and you start hitting this level of burnout, and you start thinking to yourself,
gosh, I really just don't want to go write more music.
Myself, I've been doing this for about 15 years now, and the first big instance of burnout that I had in my own life came about 3 to 4 years ago. And the joy of this industry just kind of all slipped away. The money was still there, luckily, but I just didn't really want to do it anymore. And it got to the point where I didn't even like listening to music. And people would say, hey, have you heard this band, or have you heard this song? And I would say, no, I haven't, and I don't want to either. If I had a set of headphones in, I was most likely listening to a podcast or like an audiobook or something. Definitely not music. And still to this day, I have a little bit of that still trails me 4 years later, to the point where I don't even like going to concerts anymore. I honestly don't remember the last time I went to a live music concert. I think it was to watch my friend Brendan play here locally, but that was about 3 years ago, and I can't remember the concert that I went to prior to that. So still, now for me, being in the music world as a professional for 15 years, I just don't like being surrounded by music much anymore. I figure I work in music all day when I'm home. The last thing I want to do is listen to it on my off time. So that's a certain level of burnout, you guys, when the thing that you have been passionate about your whole life ceases to excite you and you decide you really don't even want much to do with it anymore unless it is for the necessity of making money. So what did I do to fix that? Well, this is part of the reason I got into bodybuilding, because I just needed something. Like, I could not just sit in my house anymore making music all day, every day. I needed something to focus my attention on, some other type of diversion that I could put my focus into that would keep me excited and sustained. And then I could do this thing and then come back and make music for a couple hours here and there when I felt like it. And so my midlife crisis began and I took up this bodybuilding thing, and I've been doing it ever since, although not nearly to the same level as I used to, because just like music, bodybuilding got tiresome to me too. And every time I would finish up a competition after pushing myself to such extreme limits for such a long period of time, the last thing I wanted to do was go to the frickin' gym and lift a weight. It seems like after every competition, I tell myself,
I never want to lift another weight again in my life.
And that mentality lasts for a little while, and I play around and eat a bunch and lose the physique and put on some weight until eventually I say, okay, you know what? I'm kind of interested in going back to the gym again. But the burnout that I faced in the gym was the same thing that happened to music. You just can't push yourself to such high extremes by making a ton of music or going like crazy extreme on diets and weightlifting plans to get on stage without suffering burnout. But I did get through that first instance of burnout with music, and that lasted me another, year or two until I hit my second bout of musical burnout. Now, this was about 2.5 years ago, and I realized once again that the excitement of making music and kind of coming back into that world had drifted away. And again, I was like, I just have to have something else, something completely unrelated to music. And so I created a popcorn business, and that's been going for a few years now too. And that takes up a lot of time as well. But just like music and just like the gym, at the end of every popcorn season, which is like the summertime farmers market stuff, I find that I am so sick of making popcorn that I cannot wait until it's over. I mean, it starts off all fun back in like March and April, but by September, October, it's like, do I really have to fire up that equipment again, stand in front of the stove stirring a pot of sauce? So burnout is real, you guys. And anytime you push yourself to the limits, you increase the likelihood of suffering burnout in your own life. So what are the remedies? Well, I told you a few things that I did to kind of alleviate the burnout so I could kind of come back refreshed. I don't know if that's the right method at all. I suppose one thing that you could do to minimize the chances of burnout are just to not make that much music. And if you're not spending that much time on music, then chances of getting burned out are going to be minimal. But is that the right path forward for us? I don't think so. I think you gotta be in making the music. Unfortunately, the drawback is burnout is a real thing. And so I just want to tell you guys that if you haven't gotten there yet, then brace yourself for it, because it is coming. I mean, this is almost as inevitable as the Epstein files not getting released. Am I right, H? Burnout will happen to you. And it is, I think, important for you to give yourself the flexibility to say, you know what, I just need to step away from this for a little while. I need to pursue another hobby or go get another job or do something, embark on your own midlife crisis. Go get a Corvette or something, drive up and down the countryside. You need to have something that can take you away from the thing you're burnt out on before you go too far over the edge and you say, I literally never want to do this again. So have those diversions handy so when the times get tough and your mental blockades really start rearing their ugly heads, then you have something that can take your attention for a while so that you can come back to music with full focus and enjoyment and enthusiasm. All right, so let's end this video with a joke. And today, this joke is sponsored by the Dad Joke 3000. It's a little birthday present that my daughter got for me. So this is going to tell you the joke. You ready?
How do you organize an outer space party? You plan it.
All right, rock stars, catch you later. Toodles.